10 signs you are an INTJ personality type. What does INTJ mean? Anyone who has the INTJ personality type tends to love solitude and alone time or introverted, gravitates towards concepts and ideas a lot more than details and facts or intuitive, bases their decisions on reason and logic or thinking, and has a more organized and planned approach towards everything, rather than being impulsive and inflexible or judging. People who have the INTJ personality type tend to exhibit a very strategic, practical, and logical way of thinking and doing things. Number 1. They are smart. INTJs tend to be lifelong learners who are enthusiastic collectors of knowledge. They are often perfectionists with extremely high standards when it comes to their performance for themselves and others. They tend to have a keen interest in self-improvement and are lifelong learners, always looking to add to their base of information and awareness. People of this rare personality type excel at developing long-range strategies, designing complex systems, and finding weaknesses in infrastructure. You may find them reading non-fiction books, watching documentaries, or conversing with those they see as their intellectual equals. The INTJ is one of 2 types with the highest college GPA. Number 2. They tend to overthink things. INTJs are typically reserved and quiet and seem to spend their time thinking. They are curious about the world around them and often want to know the principle behind what they see. They thoroughly examine the information they receive, and if asked a question, will typically consider it at length before presenting a complex answer. INTJs think critically and clearly, and often have an idea about how to do something more efficiently. They can be blunt in their presentation and often communicate in terms of the larger strategy, leaving out the details. Number 3. They want to spend time alone. As an introvert, your idea of a good time is a quiet afternoon to yourself to enjoy your hobbies and interests. A few hours alone with a good book, a peaceful nature walk, or your television program are great ways to help you feel recharged and energized. It does not mean that the average introvert wants to be alone all the time. Many introverts love spending time with friends and interacting with familiar people in social situations. One thing to remember is that, after a long day of social activity, an introvert will probably want to retreat to a quiet place to think, reflect, and recharge. Number 4. Knowledgeable and sensible. INTJ types are famous for having a rational, sensible, and logical bent of mind, as they never make the mistake of just assuming something based on conjecture or rumors. Whatever step or decision they might take, they make sure to base it on logic and correct information. For them, their mind is their biggest weapon, and they always make sure to use it for conclusions, smell opportunities from far away, and come up with creative solutions to problems. Everything they do based on how far they want to go. Number 5. Being around lots of people drains your energy. After a day interacting with others, do you often need to retreat to a quiet place and have an extended amount of time all to yourself? The characteristic of this personality type is that introverts have to expend energy in social situations, unlike extroverts who like to be around many people. That does not mean that all introverts avoid social events altogether. Many introverts enjoy spending time around others and prefer the company of close friends. While an extrovert might go to a party to meet new people, an introvert intends to spend quality time talking to good friends. Have you ever felt exhausted after spending time with people? Number 6. People often describe you as quiet and may find it difficult to get to know you. Whether they like it or not, INTJs can and will never relate to the majority. Introverts are often described as quiet, reserved, mellow, and are sometimes mistaken for being shy. In many cases, people with this personality type prefer to choose their words carefully and not waste time or energy on needless chit-chat. They tend to write every thought they want to say than to speak what is on their minds. Their standard for formal is just so different. Anyone who happens to have a conversation with them would feel intimidated and at the same time feel unusual energy devouring their prideful spirit. If you are the quiet type and a bit reserved, you probably are an introvert. Number 7. Too much stimulation leaves you feeling distracted and unfocused. When introverts have to spend time in activities or environments that are very hectic, they may end up feeling unfocused and overwhelmed. Extroverts tend to thrive in situations where many activities and few chances of becoming bored. According to at least one study, researchers have found that introverts tend to be more easily distracted than extroverts, which is part of the reason why introverts tend to prefer a quieter, less hurried setting. If you tend to feel overwhelmed in a social situation, you probably tend to be an introvert. Do you also feel distracted and unfocused? Number 8. Unromantic and cold. Because INTJs are so practical, they tend to fall short when it comes to matters of love and romance. Especially when they get into a new relationship, they fail to understand how to behave and what to think. Most of the time, they have a very distant demeanor, because of which many of their relationships don't work out, which in turn makes them cynical about matters of love. Due to their practical nature, they tend to dismiss off emotions very quickly without sparing a second thought of them. They feel uncomfortable when feelings are given more priority than facts. For them, it is always a reason that should fly high. Number 9. They spend time working. INTJ types belong to those workaholic personalities. INTJs might have accepted the fact that learning and self-improvement is a lifelong process. They tend to be alone or with someone who has the same intellect and passion towards an idea. You'll dedicate all your time and effort toward achieving your goal and find the most efficient way to get there. When they were given a task that needs to pass on Monday, they worked the project advanced before the deadline. Have you spent time alone working? Number 10. You notice patterns and perspectives. As an INTJ, you notice patterns, or especially big picture patterns, that other people typically overlook. Introverted intuition, or the cognitive function that INTJs lead with, is basically like advanced pattern recognition software for your brain. INTJs tend to pick up on things behind a curtain. And since this process works in the background of your mind, you often make intuitive leaps that can't be explained by the patterns you recognized without consciously realizing it. INTJs adopt a meta-perspective and see things from many different angles. It is easy for an INTJ to play devil's advocate in just about any argument because they understand different perspectives so well. INTJ's population only consists of 3%, wherein some famous persons have this personality, for example, Stephen Hawking and Bill Gates, and Isaac Newton and Maynard Keynes. INTJs are perceptive about a system that they want to understand how things work and foresee logical outcomes.